Alright, ready?
Kayfabe Gimmicks! You know where to find us on Facebook. We're on YouTube. Fiction Entertainment, brother. YouTube. Fiction Entertainment, brother. YouTube.
Fucking #1 Kayfabe Gimmicks podcast ever. So.
How are you looking for?
Put words in the wrong place.
Are you recording all this, dude? The best wrestling podcast that's always been.
What you gonna do, brother, when the beast starts talking about wrestling and drinking whiskey and it's all crazy up in here?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said everyone else is saying, I gotta work in the morning, and we're like, screw that, it's WrestleMania.
Damn straight, because this is Kayfabe Gimmicks, and I'm Snuva. We got Rough Lee here, and I got the Beast, Alex.
And you talking like a bitch.
Motherfucker. I will shove my foot straight up your ass. So, Mania just ended.
And welcome to the wrap-up show.
That's definitely one thing to say about it. I'm going to tell you that I think we just witnessed the best WrestleMania since WrestleMania 23, which is one of my all-time favorites.
I completely retract everything that I said about how crap this Mania was going to be. Everything I've said for the past few weeks, they turned around and turned it into a glorious night that actually delivered on most counts.
I agree. Alex.
I do not apologize for anything I said except for the fact that nope, nothing, because I said that the build was shit, and it was shit.
I mean, I still think it was better than last year's build.
No, not the build. Not the build. But fuck the build. Let's talk about the actual show, motherfucker.
I mean, look, man, I've said it once, I'm going to say it one final time. The only build you had last year was Daniel Bryan. That does not make an amazing moment.
Just fuck off. Let's talk about the real shit that matters.
We are, because you know what? I'm going to start out a little low-key. You know, the entire night, including the 2-hour pre-show, we spent 6 hours, some of us, watching wrestling today. And to say that was a undertaking is the least we could say. It was a lot to sit through.
It was.
It definitely had a few drags. Would you guys agree?
Well, I skipped, honestly, the first hour, basically, because I didn't really care about the pre-show, but I wanted to catch the matches that were on it.
I was the exact same way between getting off work and getting everything together. I definitely did not catch the pre-show itself. But, I mean, even then, we sat through 5 hours.
Yeah.
And I think the first time I felt the drag was probably during Cena-Rusev.
I'll say the same.
I think I really felt it whenever it was the Rock Rousey part, and it wasn't so much that it drug, it was the fact that whenever he was basically pacing around the ring, waiting to go talk to her and bring her into the ring, it felt like an eternity.
I understand what you're saying, and that's actually why I wanted to start this off so low-key tonight, was they spent the entire time talking about WrestleMania moments. And it seems lately, and for a few years now, I think we should go all the way back to Cody Rhodes versus Big Show at Mania during the whole "you've never had a WrestleMania moment" feud, that this whole WrestleMania moment thing began. And it feels kind of cheap how they're trying to make everything a moment anymore.
It feels a bit forced.
It's definitely forced.
However, there were definitely some legitimate moments tonight.
I will definitely agree, but I mean, you know, when we keep saying it, it's a little mind-numbing. If we, before we get into this, do you guys remember your favorite Mania moments in the past?
Currently, like the exact one that comes to my head right now, Shawn Michaels' Sweet Chin Music to The Undertaker that finished into a pedigree and then The Undertaker still kicked out, because that was definitely a moment.
I understand. I understand. If I'm gonna say mine, it goes to two moments in the exact same match of WrestleMania 23. The exact moment when Edge spears Mick Foley for the first time. Mick Foley rips off the vest, and you see that he's wrapped himself in barbed wire, and how the match ends. I will never forget that moment with Edge with that shocked look on his face that he's so good at. After winning the match, he's battered, bruised, and he realized he's seen the light. He's gone through a catharsis. Trial by fire. Ruff, what's yours?
Probably Edge and Christian and Hardy's.
You mean the triple threat, or
The triple threat. The triple threat, because um, you know how I love high flyers and I love high impact. And so that match just like blew my mind.
alright, so if we have to have a moment tonight, my actual moment goes to Stardust's ladder. And not the fact that, like, he had his own ladder, but the moment where Bad News Barrett just kicks out one of the fucking steps, picks it up, and bashes him with it. I thought that was one of the most innovative moments I've seen in a ladder match.
Rhinestones all over the ground. That was beautiful.
It was a beautiful start to one of the best manias I think I've ever watched, especially in a long time. Ruff, what was your moment for the night?
Um, Seeing the look on Brock's face when he got bled at first. More like he was amused, and he more like he was amused. It's like, oh, you made me bleed. Well, this could be over now, but
Alex, what was your WrestleMania moment of the night?
The pop that Seth Rollins got for fucking coming out in the main event.
Alrighty, so, I think we should start with that main event because it's definitely very fresh in all of our minds, and God, what a main fucking event. If you haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet, it is definitely worth watching. From the very moment, at the very beginning, like Ruff said, where the blood starts flowing, you realize that this match is going abnormally. And there were times where, a lot like WrestleMania 26, when it was Triple H versus Undertaker for the second time ever, it felt like a shoot. It did not necessarily feel like a wrestling match at times. It felt like they were really fucking with each other. And, we had a lot of great moments. We did not get any wrestling, really, from Reigns at all. I think that's fair, right?
not at all.
Yeah. He didn't. I mean, in all reality, the way that the match played out was perfect in that Brock still dominated. And he quite literally dominated until Reigns pushed him into the ring post, which, I mean, he cut and he was bleeding everywhere. And he got hit with, 3 Superman punches and then 2 spears before he was pretty much off his feet.
There was some great selling in that. Shout out to Brittany and the group, because Kayfabe Gimmicks on Facebook, she freaked out because of the blood. And, there was so much blood.
It wasn't so much the blood, but it was the way that Lesnar sold that someone had put a chink in his armor. And it wasn't that he was beaten, because he still kicked out and he came back and put the offense back on.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get sidetracked.
Showing that hint.
I don't want to get sidetracked, but we had a lot of hints from WWE tonight that they're going to take a more mature approach to the network, at least. Between a mature-rated cartoon, some Jackass type stuff, Jerry Springer's coming back, and we had blood. We definitely had some blood tonight. And Extreme Rules is looking very exciting right now. Because if we had this much blood tonight, we should easily have this much blood at Extreme Rules. But from there on, we had this crazy-ass fucking match. The way Lesnar sold those Superman punches, with the spinning and the ropes, he could have fucked up his legs really badly with those goddamn spins. he could have gotten tied the fuck up really badly. It was some great selling. And, of course, we had the possibly greatest Money in the Bank cash-in ever.
Uh, I'm trying to think of one that I think, in all reality, it might be. Keyword is on might, for the simple fact that it changed every single person's feelings in that arena at that exact moment. It didn't matter whether that match would have gone on for another 30 seconds or another 5 minutes. Everyone went from as long as Lesnar wins because they didn't want Reigns to win. It was now, okay, do we want Lesnar or Rollins to win? Which was great in and of itself because there were still, in all reality, there was still a moment where Rollins might not have won.
I didn't necessarily want Rollins to win. I'm going to be honest with you. Ruff, how did you feel?
I didn't feel like it was ever a sure thing after the cash-in because the cash-in took a long time. I've paid attention to every single cash-in, and some of them take longer than others. This one felt like it took a long time, and seconds matter on a cash-in. It doesn't matter whether you're a heel or a face. The cash-in is a critical moment when you are waiting for your opportunity to strike, and every second counts.
I see where you're coming from.
I mean, you've got a Lesnar in the ring with you, and you are watching seconds tick away while you're waiting for them to actually verify the cash in.
And importantly to that, Ruff, was how well Seth Rollins sold how important every second of that was, because he was jumping up and down in the ring and basically yelling at Lillian and the ref, saying, start it, start it, start it, start it, start it. Because every second that he wasted was a chance for Lesnar to get back all of his wind and turn back into the undefeatable monster.
That's exactly it. That's why I thought that it was an awesome sell and an awesome moment. They played this story to perfection.
All right. Well, shout out to Matt because Matt can't be here right now, and he did call this out on the last podcast. I don't think the rest of us called this match the way it went down. Did we?
No.
Nope.
All of us were saying Lesnar retains.
And I kind of wanted him to. Ruff, did you want Lesnar to retain?
Yeah. Well, no. What I wanted was the Heyman turn. And not getting the Heyman turn also works for me because Lesnar was great in filling his role. He did his part of the story absolutely beautifully from the sidelines.
I really don't think that the Heyman turn would have been as great as everyone thinks it would have been. Because think about Brock as a face. He doesn't work as a face. It never has worked. Because what kind of sympathy can you get for the guy? What kind of emotional attachment can you have to him? The reason people are so emotionally attached to Daniel Bryan is that they've seen the struggle and he looks like a normal guy and all that kind of shit. Whereas Brock is a freak of a human being who, in reality, could kill every single person that was in that arena.
I understand where you guys are coming from. Cash-in wise, I definitely feel like this was, like we said, I can't think of a stronger cash-in. The only time we could have had a stronger cash-in was the time Damien Sandow did the, oh man, I know you're hurt. I know your weaknesses. And they fucked that to hell. But let's take that straight to the pre-show, where, I don't even give a shit. Does anybody care about the tag match?
No. We'll just say that Cesaro and Kid retained.
I'm going to say this about the tag match. Its biggest spot was a double backdrop, double suplex all at the same time.
Yes.
Where you had 6 dudes, and 2 of them were doing the backdrops, while the guys who were getting backdropped did the suplexes all at one moment.
It was a cool spot.
And it was beaten by SmackDown, of all things, which was recorded right after fucking Raw. And at that moment, we had Big E double German suplexed two guys who were in the middle of superplexing someone off the apron.
Yep.
So when you can outshadow that move on a SmackDown, come on.
I agree. The tag match just wasn't worth anyone's time, and it's a good thing it was on the pre-show.
If we're going to talk about the Battle Royale, Bo Dallas was there.
Hey!
Hideo was there.
And everyone loved him.
Zack Ryder was there. We had Curtis Axel.
A-Rai.
Yeah, A-Rai was there. A-Rai was there. He was over there raging.
I thought it was interesting that they did the Alex Riley with the Miz stuff. I thought it was interesting that how we took out Axel. Axelmania ended, and I thought it was well. I thought it was good. I would like to do good things with him, but I mean,
That's not necessarily a good thing in my book. It never has been.
I'm not saying they did a good thing with him, but I mean, it was fun. And sometimes, being fun is important.
It was damn sure funny for the simple fact that he stood straight in front of the hard camera, did the Hulkamania thing, and then proceeded to get thrown out of the ring by 29 other guys who all stopped fighting him just to throw him out of the ring.
And I loved how they actually had him crowd surfing back and forth across the ring before dumping him unceremoniously.
Yep.
So, I mean, I guess we go straight to the end of the Battle Royale, where we had the breakdown of Miz and Miz Down. And I was marking out. I was marking out so fucking hardcore, dude.
Well, that's because you also want to fuck Damien Sandow, I guess, now.
I don't really want to fuck Damien Sandow. I just, I've always enjoyed his characters. And he is good in the ring. He's good on the mic. And frankly, goddammit, I think he deserved it. Way more than Big Show deserved that win. I mean, that's fair. Like, why the fuck did we have fucking Big Show win?
I think it was just the fact that eventually Big Show needed to win some kind of battle royale.
I'm with it there too. I mean, how many years has he been active? He's got to be close to retirement.
Yeah, and he's never won any kind of battle royale.
Right, he's never won a royale, and he's got to be close to the end of his entire career. He's been doing this. Isn't this literally 20 years now? Wasn't it 95?
I think you're right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, getting straight into it, if there's anything good that came of it, him next to the trophy was definitely a great photographs moment when you actually had him taking the Andre pose.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
I love that, but I mean, the rest of it, pain in my ass. We could have done so much more. So much more, and I wish we had done so much more. Now, if we're going on from that, we started with the ladder match. And the ladder match was fucking amazing.
It was a very good match.
The ladder match was definitely a high point to the show. I definitely agree there.
I said it during the match. I really don't. I'm trying to think of the last person I saw climb a ladder nearly as fast as Dolph Ziggler. He's like lightning up the ladder.
He scurries that bitch like a motherfucking cockroach.
Pretty much.
Highlights from the match. Ruff, tell us some of your highlights from it.
Oh, well, Crazy Man doing a windmill, being a helicopter with a ladder over his neck. Because he's the only person crazy enough for you to honestly believe would try doing that. We haven't had someone do that with a ladder since Eugene.
What are you talking about now?
I'm talking about Oh, the former disciple. What's his name?
Luke.
Rowan or Luke Harper.
Luke Harper had had the ladder around his neck, spinning it, taking people out.
Yeah, it's definitely been a long time since we had one of those moments. The mini ladder fight between Harper and Ambrose was a lot of fun.
The spot
Ambrose
where
breaking his body over the rope. My God.
over the rope, fuck that one, dude. He got power bombed out of the ring onto a ladder that was on the barricade in the apron.
Yeah.
That one, oh, yeah, that one hurt me just watching it. But
I mean, we
no
saw
one's
the
ever
medics and we
questioned.
never saw him back in the ring action.
Yeah, he might have. He
I'm
might have
hoping for an update somewhere when we're done with this, because honestly, that looked bad.
Speaking of that, one of the Usos also ended up going down, didn't they?
Yeah,
Jimmy did.
I'm wondering if that might have just been kayfabe.
Well, he was already hurt, wasn't he?
I don't know.
One of them was hurt. I forget which one.
I think it was Jimmy, because I think that they said that I've read, and I try not to dirt sheet too much either, but I heard that they were going to rely more on Jay because Jimmy wasn't completely up to speed, though he was cleared.
I hear you. So going back to that ladder match, of course, Dolph had some great moments. Everybody just kept jumping on top of everybody there at the very beginning, and I loved that Ambrose elbow off the top of the ladder.
Ambrose is
I hate to
is my
call it
dude
a spot
anyway.
monkey match, but ladder matches are generally spot monkey matches, and it was an amazing spot monkey match.
I mean, the thing about it is, when you have 7 men in a ladder match, it can only be a spot monkey match.
That's true. That's also very true, and it worked out great.
No, it did. It did. We didn't have any major injuries. Nothing quite like the moment with whatchamacallit. Bad News Barrett years back. You remember when Bad News Barrett and Ziggler landed on his elbow?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was definitely one of the worst moments I think I've ever witnessed in a wrestling match.
How many bull hammers can you throw in a row?
That was bloody brilliant, I'll be honest with you.
I loved it.
That and going back to that tag match again, those super kicks from the Uso, that was actually a really fun moment too.
Yeah.
So to get into that match and to get past it, of course, we ended with that great, I can't even say anything other than great, the headbutt moment. I thought it was really nice.
It was good sell.
It was interesting to see the crowd reaction from it too, from a simple standpoint of everybody really likes Dolph, everybody loves Daniel Bryan. Where are the fans going to go on this one? And it surprisingly went very strongly to Daniel Bryan.
That just happened. Moving on from there, I think it was one of the more predictable matches of the night, as well as the Cena match. Would you guys agree?
I would agree with that, but it was also an amazingly well worked match.
I'm not going to deny it. I just, as far as predictability, it was definitely there.
It still doesn't take away from the fact that it was a really good match, even if it was predictable.
Oh, the double DDT to the outside.
Are we moving on to Orton then?
Are we
I am.
skipping Rusev Cena?
Oh no! I mean that happens later on. Let's take it in order. I mean,
it didn't though. Orton Rollins came on before Cena Rusev.
I know, that's why we're skipping to the double DDT. Aren't we? Aren't we talking about Rollins versus Orton right now? Isn't that what Ruff just brought up?
Yeah, but
That's
you
what I
brought
wanna
up
talk
Cena
about.
versus Rusev.
No, I know, but I mean, as being predictable. It was predictable. And Alex, it's late. Maybe you should be one of those motherfuckers who go into bed because you got work in the goddamn morning.
I don't have work in the fucking morning, bitch.
Neither do I, and that's why we're talking about goddamn WrestleMania here on Kayfabe Gimmicks. You can find us on Facebook. Remember, you can like us, subscribe to us on YouTube.
You need to fucking plug you.
And if you ever want to watch these pay-per-views, it's $9.99 on the goddamn network. What do you get for $9.99?
Fucking bastard.
What do you get for $9.99, Alex?
I'm gonna give you my fucking dick for $9.99.
You're a cheap
Alex,
date.
Alex will probably give you penis for less than $9.99, man. He doesn't
No.
fuck women. He only likes men. Orton versus... You know, I really didn't want Orton to go over. Am I the only one who didn't want Orton to go over?
I'm fine with him going over it
I
when he
didn't care either way,
absolutely
honestly.
delivers.
I will say that there was some great moments with it. Great fucking moments. Especially, the way Seth Rollins can sell. Especially when he missed that Phoenix Splash.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a huge fan of that Phoenix Splash, but the fact that it missed and he still sold it in such a way was fucking brilliant.
Right. Proving that he's an absolutely clean technician in the ring.
If we are going to be talking about WrestleMania moments, for me, one of my highlights of this WrestleMania was the fact that Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury got to be in a major WrestleMania match. And I mean, maybe they were not doing the major wrestling thing, but they definitely got to play the Pat Patterson, Gerald Briscoe goons of the Attitude Era. And I love them so much for it.
Especially because it's two guys that people pretty much dismiss due to their size.
I mean, you know, I don't know. Mercury, I think a lot of it came down to politics and drama for his career and where it went. Jamie Noble, on the other hand, a bad gimmicks and a lot of misuse over the years to the point of total dismissal by the people.
Which is really sad because he made the absolute most off of every possible bad gimmick they gave him. He still worked it as hard as you could expect a guy to try.
You guys remember when Jamie Noble came back as like a dog? And he wore the collar every fucking week.
Don't remind me.
So sad.
These things happen, and yet somehow these two guys have come back, and they've been on WWE TV for how many, like, months now? Months upon months now. And it's been great just to have them there, because they perfectly fit that Pat Patterson, Gerald Briscoe thing, where they're kind of a shout out to some of us older fans, but at the same time, they're just there to fill a spot and a position of stooge. They could be anybody in the world, but because they are who they are, it's a special nod to us as wrestling fans.
Absolutely.
That's what I think about it. What was some of your favorite highlights of the match, Alex?
The curb stomp into RKO was...
I really didn't want to get to the very end of the match, but I completely understand where you're coming from. The amount of air he got off of that curb stomp was insane.
There's two things about that impressed me that much. One, it means Rollins can fucking jump out of the sky. We kind of already knew that. Two, for Randy's neck not to be fucked up from that, that's really fucking impressive. Because that means that Rollins basically jumped off of his lower neck / upper back.
Yeah, I mean, it's telling you how good of shape Randy's in. I mean, I really feel like Randy needs an entire overhaul. From the bottom up. Worse than John Cena. I'm sorry, that's what I'm going to tell you. The RKO is tired. He himself as a character is rather tired. I love to see him go crazy, don't get me wrong. But my biggest fear right now, if we're going to be honest, my biggest fear in the world would be if they somehow go into an Orton versus an Orton versus Rollins feud would be terrible right now.
It won't happen right now.
Right. There's too big of a role happening right now, especially after the way that Mania closed.
Yeah.
If we could do anything with Orton in the coming months, I don't want to see him feud for the U.S. Championship, but the Intercontinental belt and a Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton feud would be nice. It would be less tired than Cena versus Orton, and if anything, I mean, it could work. I think it could work. Well, thoughts?
You can say that the RKO is tired, but then we have things like how the match ended tonight, and it doesn't seem that way.
I mean, it's still, to use WWE 2K13 terms, if we're going to call it off the 2K name, but WWE 13 terms, catch finishers. They're fun, they're nice, it was cool, but he had already done it twice in the fucking match. The real thing about it was the curb stomp would have been impressive as shit if it had landed, even if it hadn't turned into an RKO. Because it would have been the first time he did a completely standing curb stomp. And
Right.
Orton was pretty much at full height. He literally leapt, 6 feet into the fucking air? Orton's at 6'5", I want to tell you.
Yeah.
So no matter what, Seth Rollins cleared 6 feet to land on his fucking neck. That's what was crazy.
Yeah.
The fact that he then jumped another 6 feet into the air off the man's neck just blew the fucking sky out of the water. But to be honest with you, no matter what, I really feel like John Cena outshadowed the RKO tonight like a motherfucker. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that in a little while.
Why? Ruff doesn't want to talk about that match.
Hey, I'm fine talking about it. I was just trying to run it down the order that the show played out.
This is my goddamn show. We're going to run it the way we need to run it. So what happened after Orton versus Rollins, guys? Oh, actually, before we go there, I have one question for you. Ruff, when Orton beat Rollins, did that make you think that there was definitely going to be a cash-in tonight?
No, because I still didn't expect the cash-in to actually happen tonight. That's the, we will get to all that, but that is historic. It's one for the record books.
Alex, were you expecting a cash-in still when you first saw him lose?
Fuck no. Man, I straight up, if y'all should apparently come join us on Facebook, title bitch at me if I don't plug us. I was pretty much calling a timer on the Roman Reigns comeback at 53 minutes. And ironically, at the 53-minute mark, instead of a Roman Reigns comeback, we got Seth Rollins appearing.
I mean, we definitely got a Reigns comeback tonight.
Okay, I mean a comeback into the victory.
I thought he was going to win at one point.
He pulls a Super Cena.
I thought he was really going to win there at one point. That's partially why I marked out so bad. I will say that I was trying to mark out. Me and Steven, one of our members, had been discussing it at one point. And when it comes to pay-per-views, I really try to take the fan outlook on things and have a lot of fun. I read a lot of dirt sheets, but I do not read the betting odds of a pay-per-view right before they start. And if I pull up those betting odds, I bet you they will call the winners exactly. I don't know why, but somehow hours before the pay-per-view, the betting odds will actually tell you exactly who's going to win. 90% of the damn time.
I don't look because I want to be.
You want to mark out as Ven. You want to be surprised.
And I was.
Alright, so, Ruff, what happened after Orton versus Rollins?
I can't remember which one was next, honestly.
Alex, do you remember?
Was it Divas?
I want to tell you it was a music event first, which,
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
besides Travis Barker.
I muted my TV for the music event.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
It's like the halftime of the Super Bowl. I don't really care about it.
So we were supposed to give Divas a chance.
It was a good match. Fuck you.
I'm still looking for a running time.
Oh, for how long it was?
Yeah.
If I had to guess, like 10 minutes.
And not even, I think I looked at our post on Kayfabe Gimmicks, and I think it was about 9 minutes. So right between the 8 and the 10, I want to say you called 8 rough and I called 10.
So there we are.
Perfect tie. That's how I want to tell you it went down. Guys, I don't know how to read betting odds. Does the negative mean more likely to win, or does the positive mean more likely to win?
What?
Like, what are the numbers
Give me the
saying?
numbers.
Roman Reigns was negative 210 versus Brock Lesnar's plus 160.
Roman Reigns was favored to win.
Okay, so the negative is the favored?
In that situation, yes.
So if Sting was negative 475 versus Triple H's plus 325?
Sorry, one more time?
Sting was negative 475 versus Triple H's plus 325.
So, yeah, you would have made bank off of betting on Triple H.
I don't get betting odds at all. But we actually fucked up because Sting versus Triple H happened before the Divas match.
Oh.
And I want to tell you that it was
A mark out
Mark
moment.
Fest? A March
It
Fest.
was a disappointment in actual match of Sting versus Triple H, is what I'm going to tell you. You know what I'm trying to say?
Okay, if you're talking about from a wrestling standpoint, yes. If you're talking about from a storytelling standpoint, you're smoking meth.
No, story standpoint wise, don't get me wrong, it was a mark out fest. I did not see that shit coming in any sense of the word, and I had the time of my life watching it. And that's what I'll tell you about that. But I mean, as a wrestling match, it's kind of went slow, and it's partially what led to my burnout. It partially led to my burnout at this point in the show because I was expecting a lot, and I really didn't get a good Sting versus Triple H match. But between DX showing up, I started freaking the fuck out. And when we went from DX showing up to, oh my fucking god, NWO was here, I was on the edge of my seat. What are some of your guys' highlights?
Scott Hall taking a backdrop. Thank you, DDP. I love you.
I loved the fact that Scott Hall was there. The fact that motherfucking Hogan showed up, of all people in the world. I wasn't expecting it. I was not expecting it at all, and I am so glad that it happened. It was a utter joy. My biggest moment was probably the breaking of the sledgehammer.
It was, and then it wasn't, because the sledgehammer still came back.
I know, man, but when the sledgehammer broke, I fucking marked out like a motherfucker. Ruff?
The sledge was...
Whoa, you got a little feedback there, buddy. How are you feeling there?
Well, you know, the bat winning is one thing. But, you know, in the end, the worst, the aftermath was what I didn't dig about the match. The rest of it I liked.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point that I was trying to just block out of my memory. The handshake was fucking stupid.
The handshake's not what
Sorry if
bothered
you
me the
liked it,
most.
but the handshake was fucking
The handshake
stupid.
isn't what bothered me. It was the pat on the back of the neck.
It's like, yeah, I buried you. Now you can go away.
It wasn't even, yeah, I buried you. it was the simple fact that, okay, you have the NWO come out, you have DX come out, and then Triple H goes over because he beat you in the face with a sledgehammer. Now I'm gonna shake your hand afterwards. If you were gonna
Everyone
have
group
them
hug.
shake, yeah, if you were gonna have them shake hands afterwards, Triple H probably should have gone over. I can't say clean because it was a no disqualifications match, but clean, quote unquote.
It was very disjointing.
Yeah.
And, if we're going to talk about some highlights from it again, though, fuck
It's a
everybody else in
serious
DDP
problem with
Yoga.
it, you know?
Scott Hall was not the best
It
looking man
broke
out
the
there.
story, kind of.
You guys
Sort
know
of.
who was the best looking guy out there?
Todd has disappeared on us.
I muted myself, actually, and I forgot. I was going to tell you, you know what my highlight was from this match? And I'll tell you real quick. Fuck Scott Hall and DDP Yoga. The best looking man out there was Kevin fucking Nash.
I was
probably-
amazed at how good he looked.
He probably pulled a quad.
I don't care, man. Nash looked at the peak of his health. Honestly. Nash, Taker, I know we're going to get into it a little bit later tonight, and Sting, those were three guys who I couldn't see that they had not been hardcore wrestling.
Hey, then don't say fuck DDP Yoga, because they've probably all been doing it.
No, I know I know they've all probably been doing it too, but Scott Hall is not the one who I would claim as a...
No, but Scott Hall was also like 5 years away from death 2 years ago.
No, I know, man.
He was looking in better shape than I remember him last, so...
Billy Gunn is one of those examples of just... Oh my god, I mean... it looks like he never stopped wrestling. I wish we could have actually gotten more wrestling out of DX versus NWO, though.
Some of them just can't do it, though, you know?
I mean, I hear you, but X-Pac still wrestles all the goddamn time. It's not that long since Kevin Nash was in the ring. Didn't he just do a fucking event?
Yeah.
I want to tell you, he just did an event before that incident with his son happened. Or right after it. He had done a special event for some promotion. I know Hogan hasn't been in a ring in a while. Sting, it hasn't been that long since he's been out of the ring. Triple H, whatever. He's pretty much always in the fucking ring no matter what he says. Road Dogg and Billy Gunn have been in the ring recently. Who else was there? Was there somebody else there for NWO?
It was Hogan, Nash, and Hall. For who? DX? Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, X-Pac.
Shawn Michaels was looking great.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels. He's not going to ever wrestle again, though, so that doesn't matter.
No, man, but when Shawn Michaels came into that match, did anybody actually see when Shawn Michaels entered that match?
No, because they did amazing camera work for once.
I fucking agree, man. Shawn Michaels showing up out of nowhere was one of the biggest surprises of the night. And I'm not a Lazy Eye Hickenbottom fan, but oh my fucking god. Lazy Eye Hickenbottom showed up, and it was kind of fucking cool.
Yeah.
I really feel like Shawn Michaels is still in some great shape.
It was
The issue
literally
is he's
like,
never gonna
where did
wrestle
he
again.
come from?
That's what we were just talking about, Ruff.
That's what I'm saying. It's like he literally like when he showed up, it was like, like, was he hiding under the ring the whole time or something? Because it was that much of a sneak.
I mean, they did a really good job of keeping the camera away from that side, so he could have just been somewhere in the crowd, but no matter how you go about it, it was good work.
It was definitely some great, great work. I'm gonna agree there. Continuing on, then we had the Divas match, I want to tell you. And, Alex, you told me you liked the Divas match.
It wasn't a bad match. Like, don't get me, it wasn't good, but it was not a bad match, and it could have been a lot worse. Along with the fact that seeing the Divas actually get more than a 2-minute squash match is nice. Okay, compared to the last, 7 WrestleManias, 8 WrestleManias?
When they
Yeah,
had
we
the
were talking about it
when
on the
they had
last
the
episode of Kayfabe Gimmicks. Go listen to it. Cheap plug.
when you
You all
had the
about
when
them
you
cheap
have the
plugs.
Divas Battle Royales where they're supposed to be out of the ring within 2 minutes.
The Diva Battle Royales were definitely one of the lowest parts of WrestleMania for women. I just don't feel like this was a high part. The AJ being kept getting knocked out of the ring thing was a little ridiculous.
Paige finally got her character back at the end for me, though.
I mean, really, no thoughts on the AJ thing? Is it a work? Is it part of the whole AJ talking shit about give Divas a chance?
I don't know, man.
No.
I think the way they had the match scripted wasn't that good for the simple fact that they had Paige pretty much have to fight the Bellas for the majority of the time. But I don't know.
It's kind of weird how they're
It
going
was,
about
in the
that.
end, it was better than seeing a Divas Battle Royale.
I mean, as much as I'm not necessarily an
I mean, we got to
NXT
see the
fan,
Black Widow executed, which is a much better submission move than 80% of submission moves that people win matches with.
the STF. I'm just saying that, I'm not a big NXT fan, especially because, I mean, Triple H just buried WCW and Sting. We're gonna get more into that a little bit later, though. My thing about it is that while the match was decent, it still doesn't hold up to something like the Revolution match with the Fatal 4-Way for the Women's Championship.
Yeah, it's not that kind of a match, but, I take what I can get. Baby steps, I guess. Which sucks for me. Like I'm such a fan of women's wrestling that I wind up reading a lot of dirt sheets that are geared just for women's wrestling, and I've always been that kind of guy. So I go all the way back with women's wrestling to being a fan of Glow when Ivory was Tina Ferrari. So I go a long ways back with seeing decent in-ring matches with women. And no, this wasn't great by any means, but I see it as a marked improvement more than anything.
I hear you. What I want to talk about, obviously, now is the John Cena Rusev fight. And let's start it off with Rusev's Russian entrance with gunfire and, oh my god, a fucking tank. He rode in on a fucking tank.
Parallel goose stepping. That was the one thing that was done too much to pacify television producers and not enough for making it look correct.
Alex, what were your thoughts on that?
It was a cool WrestleMania entrance, which was nice to see for Rusev, who's definitely an up-and-comer. I was in awe that John Cena didn't come out with a bunch of U.S. military people because they're right next to a fucking Marine Corps base.
I feel like they care less about having a bunch of actual Marines there, and they'd rather just have extras sometimes. I don't know how that works out. Do they have to pay the Marines to come on?
I think San Jose's a training base, so they probably could have just gotten volunteers for it. But I was just surprised in the end that that's not what happened. You know what I mean?
The thing about all of the special entrances, none of them had a lot of people. And that there were reports that there was a lot of the exact same people, and they got paid about $1,300 for the whole thing. Which is quite a bit of money.
Can we all agree, since we're talking about special entrances, that Triple H's this year was not as good as his last year.
I don't even remember what he did last year. What was his exact entrance last year?
The
It was
gold.
another throne one, right?
It was the throne with the gold helmet and the gold shoulder pads, and he had Charlotte and Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss taking off the armor of him and taking his goblet from him.
Is that who did that last year?
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's very cool.
That's kind of cool. I just, my thing about it is, whatever. It could have been better. My worst thing about the Triple H entrance was the weird mask, because they decided to stick with the King of Kings mask. I wish they'd just gone with a straight up Terminator mask on him, or like a face paint job. That would have been cool. He could have rinsed it off before he started the match with some good camera work, whatever. But more importantly, those stupid arms and shoulder pads, like the shoulder pads weren't even fucking connected onto his shoulders. They were like 2 inches above. That's one of those things that bothers me. So, Cena's entrance, we had the special promo video, but it was very normal. The best thing I'd say about it was the fact that he had in the background on the Titantron thing, you had an image of all of the different versions of Cena we've had. And the sad thing about that was there was like 4 of them.
Yeah.
Highlights from the match. Rough?
God, well, at least they made this a very sellable match. Even if it's going to turn out the way that we expect it to, Rusev looked very, very strong. Period.
He is so fucking talented in the goddamn ring. I've never seen a big man move like he moves.
Mm-hmm.
This whole super athlete thing is definitely a actual, like him and Brock Lesnar are probably on that level.
Really should have had a fucking match. They really should have had a fucking match. I'm so glad that we've got Brock for 3 years, because if we build Rusev right, we can do Brock Lesnar versus Rusev.
And it'll be one of the best worked big man matches
Ever.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because they both have such mobility and such, well, if Brock doesn't just German suplex him 18 times, but
Lesnar did more than German suplexes.
It was a joke, Todd.
I'm just saying, for once, I won't say this was Lesnar's worst wrestling.
No, it wasn't as bad as everyone thought it was going to be.
I felt Lesnar pulled off better wrestling than he's pulled off even in that triple threat at the Rumble, because he didn't have a choice. He had to carry the entire fucking match.
Yeah. Well, Reigns, I'm going to bring it back around real quick since we're going to do this, and I forgot to bring it up earlier about the main event, was that despite the fact that Reigns came in as the go-getter, clean babyface, and Lesnar was supposed to be the big bad monster's heel, Reigns got the heavy boos and the you sucks and all that kind of stuff. And Lesnar got a huge pop whenever his music hit. Sorry. Dreams have been
Not
crushed.
sorry.
Yeah, pretty much. Sorry, not sorry.
Back to Rusev, and I'll say this honestly, for one of the spots that was good to me was Cena being on the ground in the Accolade and going from all the way on the ground to upright and breaking out of it by backing into a turnbuckle. That's honestly good work. You can plan it all you want to, and yeah, Cena's a very big, strong dude. How big is Rusev when he's on top of you to go from on the mat?
I hear you and I understand you.
Personally, the best spot in that match to me was
You're already there, Alex. Go for it. Guys.
Maybe we lost him.
I don't know what's going on there. You still there, Ruff?
I'm still here.
Alright, well, what I was gonna say before I got interrupted and lost my own track of thought there, was, for me, I mean, you had Rusev moving very amazingly. We broke the Accolade. I don't think that is necessarily a bad thing at all.
No.
I'm not going to tell you it was a bad thing. I think it was kind of okay. Breaking the Accolade is acceptable, and there were worse times to break the Accolade than now. I don't think we destroyed Rusev's strength at all with this match.
No.
Which, I'm going to tell you, I feel like we didn't help somebody later on. But the thing about Rusev and breaking the Accolade, I mean, whatever. It happened. Rusev's still strong. He's still strong as hell about it. Alex, what were you trying to say?
Oh, yeah, I was trying to say that springboard stunner was amazing. And
Oh my god,
real quick,
you know,
real quick before you go on your tangent, I'm gonna piggyback off of what you said. And honestly, Rusev pretty much survived all that with all of his credibility still intact because he hit Lana, which distracted him of his own fruition, to which he turned around and got AA'd. If Cena was a heel and Lana was his manager, cool, that would have been pretty much the same way that Rusev beat Cena at Fastlane.
I'm just saying that springboard stunner was not only one of the cleanest things I've seen in a wrestling match out of John Cena in forever, but it was one of the most innovative and best things I think we could have seen out of Cena in forever, and I really wish it had ended the fucking match.
Oh, yeah. No, that should have been the ending, no question.
It can absolutely be a new finisher for him. If he can do it that clean on a debut, and he debuts it at WrestleMania, he can pull that with the right opponent anywhere. So add it to the library.
To really take this all the way back around again, I mean, you know, when I was talking about Reigns, and if Reigns was going to be able to successfully win at Mania, we needed to see him wrestle, and he needed to debut multiple slams, but specifically something really powerful looking to take out Lesnar. Man, that would have been sexy. Hopefully when they work on repackaging him here in the next couple of months, they really work on having him showcase something other than brawling.
Do you guys think, okay, since we've pretty much covered the entirety of the card, before we go to the last thing I think we haven't talked about, which was that really good Taker Bray match, do you guys think Roman Reigns is going to be off TV for a while?
I don't feel like you have to take him off TV to repackage him. And I don't think that his in-ring work is necessarily the problem.
I don't mean it from a standpoint of taking him off TV for the specific reason of repackaging him, but taking him off TV and letting him be a surprise return somewhere so that if they want to push him as a face, he can come back with more of an organic thing. Say Rollins is still holding the title before SummerSlam and he's beaten everybody that's come towards him, and Reigns were to come back as a surprise face to come after Rollins. If he had been off TV for that long, do you think he would be able to actually get some momentum going comparatively to what happened with the Rumble?
What I'm going to tell you to that is if anybody disappears right now, it needs to be Brock Lesnar.
I actually agree with that because there's nowhere really for him to go at this exact moment.
At this point in time, the only thing you can do with Lesnar is have him demolish Seth Rollins and take back his belt.
Yeah, I completely agree because there's no way that they can say that Rollins would be able to beat Brock one-on-one.
So if we're going to do an organic thing right now, we really need to bring up the Shield and we really need to focus to hell. And I mean, honestly, if you're really going to take my honest opinion, you make it a fucking triple threat, man. You have the go diehard face, I guess. I don't know. You know, honestly, if anything, Rollins is your bad guy, Dean Ambrose is your face, and Reigns becomes your wild card. He has to be the lunatic fringe of it. Not Dean Ambrose.
I don't think he has to be a lunatic fringe. Don't say shit like that because I hate that fucking
I don't
game to
really
begin
like
with.
that term. I don't like that term, but you know what I mean?
But he needs to be the
He needs to be
tweener.
the crazy one.
Yeah, he needs to be the one that is not focused on being good, being bad, like having the fans like him, having the fans boo him. If he has a match with Dean Ambrose and gets booed, cool. He doesn't care. If he has a match with Rollins and gets cheered, cool. He doesn't care. Because right now,
Exactly.
it's just, you can't say that you would put Dean in that chance because Reigns is just going to get booed. If you put Reigns against Dean Ambrose, he's going to get booed. If you put Reigns against Seth Rollins, he's going to get booed. Rollins
That's
might
actually-
be an amazing heel. However, the fans aren't going to cheer for Reigns comparatively to Rollins.
That's actually exactly where I'm going. If I would do anything with this right now, Ambrose steps up to be the face. Ambrose steps up to be the one to go after Rollins again. And as he does that, Reigns takes him the fuck out.
We see, okay, since we're forecasting, here's the big thing that I see. Rollins didn't need any sidekicks with him when he did his cash in. So now that he's got the gold, he can look at the Authority and say, what do I need you for? I got what I came for. So that doesn't make him a face, but it certainly doesn't make him part of the Authority umbrella. He can be absolutely rogue, and we can cheer for Rollins despite the fact that he's cocky, arrogant, and he just took what he wanted.
So you're saying make Reigns the heel?
Like, we still have a problem figuring out what to do with Roman Reigns, because the best thing you can do about him is exactly what you said. Make him not care. If he's just the guy that doesn't care and he's just on a mission, then he can still stay involved in the story. But he's never going to be anywhere as engaging as we are with Seth Rollins.
Well, I'm going to say this about Seth Rollins leaving the Authority. It's not going to happen anytime soon for the simple fact that he has to be basically replaced in that role. Unfortunately, until they can take Triple H and Stephanie off of TV, Rollins is going to be a part of that.
Which you can't do anyway until Tripp feels like not being on TV.
I'm going to dream book you something beautiful real quick, okay?
God, it's going to be terrible.
It's not. I have
It's
something
totally
to
gonna
say for
suck.
once. I have something interesting this time, actually.
You say that every time and it always sucks.
I do. Thanks, guys. I love you too. So, what if, of all things, when Reigns comes out tomorrow night, Stephanie and Triple H come out there and they interrupt his ass? They're just like, wait a second. With the whole Royal Rumble fiasco to now, we're going to give you a performance review. And for the next 3 or 4 weeks leading into Extreme Rules, they start belittling him, talking about firing him, making you question whether or not he's going to have his job. This is dream booking, so it's definitely not going to fucking happen. But Extreme Rules, we're still waiting to see what the fuck happens to Reigns. And at this point, we're 95% positive he's going to be fired. They're going to take him off TV for at least a couple months so they can repackage him, whatever. That's how they have to paint it. And The Rock shows up. Just to talk shit. He's got his movie coming out, you know what I mean? They love promoting The Rock's movies for him. And of all the things in the world that could happen right then, Roman Reigns demolishes The Rock in the middle of the fucking ring and joins the fucking Authority. Which leads to you being able to do The Rock versus Triple H later on. Which, I mean, I think that's pretty fucking likely after what we're going to talk about next.
Yeah.
It's very fucking likely, and it's a brilliant way to do it, because you get to do that, oh shit, The Rock's even more upset now, his cousin just beat the fuck out of him. Holy fuck. He's going to take this out on Triple H, because we know whose fault it is. Oh my god, it could be good. It could be damn good TV. But to sideline this into the next thing, let's talk about The Rock. He showed up at Mania. We had a lot of fucking surprise appearances. I wasn't expecting NWO and DX like we already talked about, but we also had Rowdy Roddy Piper. We had Steamboat. We had Farouk. Who else was all there for that segment with Daniel Bryan? I know there was more. There was a lot of Intercontinental Championships. I want to say Pat Patterson was one of them.
Yeah.
That was another great moment. But The Rock came out, and it was a very long segment and a very long Mania, and it kind of explained to you why we took the Battle Royale off of the pay-per-view, but at the same time, I'm not entirely sure why this segment happened. Does anybody know why this segment really happened?
Was it to give Rousey a WrestleMania moment?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, was it just to promote Ronda Rousey? Alex?
God. It's a hard thing to say at this point, and we'll see what eventually happens.
Because I'll be honest with you, when it happened, I knew Ronda Rousey was there, but I wasn't expecting her to get involved.
Yeah, no, I felt the same way. I figured they'd just show her in the crowd because
she's there.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted celebrities there. They always love celebrities there. To talk about the segment itself, Triple H buried Sting in WCW tonight, and he pretty much buried all of us as fans. They really ran the WWE network is the best, WWE's the best. You guys are paying for our show. And, those were some of the most frustrating moments of the night for me. Alex?
I mean, I'd agree with that. It was a bit difficult to watch in the way that... I mean, it was good heel work, don't get me wrong, because it worked. I was legitimately annoyed.
I know, man, but, it was one thing when, like, on Raw every week they're just making these little jokes about the IWC and the Smarks and all that kind of stuff, but we're talking, they basically just buried us. They buried us tonight, right there, and it's funny because, this was such a great WrestleMania, but the Triple H moments were some of the weakest. Some of the weakest. Just because of how Triple H acted and did things. I don't understand the point of Sting showing up finally in the WWE to just lose.
I really can't put any context around it because I still don't understand it in my head.
Yeah, because as far as we know...
I still don't understand why Sting lost.
I mean, as far as we understand, this was his only match. Like, even he's come out and said that he doesn't plan on really having any matches as far as he understands.
That's what I really mean. If he would have gone over, I could have understood them building to, even if it was him versus Taker at 32 and that was both of their last matches, I would have been able to at least comprehend basically what was occurring. This, I'm still just not sure what is going on or anything like that.
Tripp was the weak point of the night in a lot of different ways. The handshake at the end of his match with Sting, and then for him to do this spot, which was excessively long in my book. I do not need that long of a segment.
It was a 30-minute segment. Let's say this. It was about 30 fucking minutes. It was at least as long as the Battle Royale, maybe longer.
It was long enough that it started and we had said, I don't understand how they're going to fill the rest of this card out. And then that went on for freaking ever, and that's how they filled the card out.
And Steph was better on a mic than Tripp was.
She was great on the mic tonight. She was. I love cheap $9.99 spots. I don't know. It's funny. At first, they really annoyed the shit out of me, and then they made the song, and it was even more terrible. But something about them have just become this funny little staple of wrestling culture, I think, right now. Because none of us can really deny the deal. We can't. Which is part of the, shame of them burying us for it. Because, $9.99 is better than we ever would have paid for a fucking pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Ever. I didn't like paying pay-per-view prices. I would only do it for Mania. So I guess they've made their money back and then some. That's the only way I can look at it. I will say this. The Rock was in top form.
Almost.
You don't think so?
The Rock is not in top form unless everything is in third person.
It was all in third person, wasn't it?
No, there was a bunch of I's in his verbiage.
See, I didn't even catch him. I think I'm in love with Ronda Rousey. I'll say that.
Yeah.
The over 9,000 shirt, man, I'm a huge Vegeta fan anyways. And the fact that she was wearing a fucking Dragon Ball Z shirt of all the fucking things in the goddamn world marked the fuck out. Marked the fuck out. That was before I even realized she was coming into the goddamn ring. Like, even when he was standing next to her, I didn't expect her to come in. I don't know. All I was thinking was, oh shit, she's wearing a fucking Dragon Ball Z shirt.
She knows exactly how to make us fanboys fan out.
If we're gonna say anything about that whole segment, I guess, it's the fact that the judo flip was awesome, right?
Oh, yeah.
I agree, and it also saved the legitimacy of Triple H at the same time because they didn't have her just flip him, but they had The Rock basically pummel him with punches before. Because that could have been bad if all it was Rousey just flipping him.
Yeah, no, and I mean, you know, Triple H is still one of the best in the business at selling things. I'll admit that. I'll admit that when he got beat into the corner and he started floating up to the top, he still can sell a punch really well.
Yeah.
The way he sold the flip all the way out of the fucking ring, he flopped out of the fucking ring, and it was great. I think we can all agree that this was definitely our weakest moment of the night then, right?
Absolutely.
Was there a way to fix it?
No.
Not have it happen. I mean, really, it just shouldn't have happened. If anything, The Rock should have just done a cheap plug for $9.99 like Hulk Hogan did last year.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know, Hulk Hogan might be the worst guest host ever just because that's all he did last year was that one cheap spot for $9.99.
Hey, come check out the network. $9.99.
And then, like, the only good thing that came out of that was him, Stone Cold, and The Rock drinking.
Yeah.
And then, did we even see Triple H again or Hulk Hogan again that night? I don't think he came back out.
No.
Not back out to the Silver Dome, brother.
Did he call it by the wrong
They
name?
called it the Silver Dome.
Where were they actually at last year?
Superdome.
Oh, man. So, let's talk some Taker versus Wyatt after that depressing moment.
Yes.
Taker, this goes back to that special entrance thing again. I would have liked more scarecrows. I would have loved more scarecrows, man. It should have been a fucking army up there. Does that make sense?
Monks versus scarecrows.
We didn't even get any monks, man. It would have been nice to have...
I don't know, man. Taker's entrance was done well.
It was the most basic Taker entrance we've seen at Mania in forever.
Yeah.
Maybe ever. Taker looked great. He looked so damn good. I was really happy that he had dyed his hair, because I had just seen some pictures of him with white hair, and I was like, oh my god, Taker's old.
Well, he is old.
I know. I mean, he's younger than Vince was when Vince did his last match.
What, was he looking like Mordecai or something?
I mean, yeah, like, if you go look at the Taker picture, go Google recent Taker pictures sometime, and it's not very, confidence-inspiring, we'll say.
I think that he looked more in shape than he has since he was the American Badass.
I said it on Kayfabe Gimmicks. Check us out on Facebook. But I said for a fact that I feel like it's the best he's looked since WrestleMania 26, which was Taker versus H2. And I mean, it might actually be the best he's looked since one of the Shawn Michaels fights. He looked good out there.
Oh yeah, no, he looked really good.
I can definitely say that much.
Now on to ring action.
My highlight is the fact that we actually had a kip up this year.
And it was an amazing one at that.
It was the first one since WrestleMania 27. I want to say it was the first one since WrestleMania 27, because he did not kip up against Punk, he did not kip up versus H2, and he did not kip up versus Lesnar. But I think he had a kip up with the Shawn Michaels as special guest referee, didn't he?
I think so.
I really can't remember off the top of my head, dude.
You guys are worthless.
Yeah, I'm aware.
The crab walk in approaching Taker into the sit-up. Good spot.
Oh yeah, no, I was sitting there on the couch going sit up, sit up, sit up, sit up, sit up, sit up, sit up.
And it wasn't quite a kip up, but the choke slam out of the Sister Abigail was also a great spot.
Yeah, that was also definitely a very nice spot.
I felt like the middle of the match was a problem because I was really feeling Taker's age, and I didn't feel like I needed to feel Taker's age. Maybe it should have been a shorter match.
Fans will feel cheated if you give them too short of a match. That's kind of a delicate balance.
I definitely agree. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. Maybe I don't like seeing Taker get his ass beat. I mean, I got a kip up, so I can't really complain. If I hadn't gotten the kip up, I'd really be complaining. But I want to tell you, over half the match was Taker on the ground.
I love you, Daddy.
Yeah, it was. I don't know, man. It all worked out in the end. That's what I can say. Because it turned out to be a very good match.
Bray breaking the pin and the shocked look on Taker's face does wonders for Bray's credibility.
If we are going to say anything, oh my god, that slow motion became a problem during that match. Some of the worst, most awkward things I've ever seen happen in slow motion during that match. Bray's arm looked like it was broken that one time he was slamming him.
Yeah.
Taker's face as he was freaking out about that kick out was just kind of awkward. Because he already had his tongue out and the pen just go flying everywhere, and I'm like, some things we shouldn't show in slow motion.
There's a lot of things in the WWE that just shouldn't be slow motion because it's not really something that needs slow motion.
There was a Cena moment in slow motion, which I want to say it was a headbutt or something, but they replayed it in slow motion. And Cena looked like he actually got hit in the fucking face.
They also slowed down the knee.
That's it. The knee to the face, man. When they slow motion that,
yeah, he definitely looked like he caught that one on the chin.
I absolutely agree. Any more thoughts about this match?
No, because I'm ready to go to the big one.
We already discussed the big one, man. What else do you want to say about it?
Well, we got to talk real quick about the legitimacy of Seth Rollins at this point.
Okay.
The matches are the matches, but I mean, it's also, of all the superstars that have had quick rises, I think that it's important to look at not just the fact that Rollins has proven himself on the mic and in the ring, but also where his resume sits at this point.
I mean, he's got an amazing resume already.
Yeah. But I mean, I just honestly don't think that people don't recognize it for him the way that early in like someone like Orton's career.
Okay. No, I see where you're going with that. Yes. One of the things they definitely should hype about him is the fact that he is not only the first NXT superstar to win the WWE Championship, but he is also the first NXT champion in and of itself, and the first NXT champion to win the title.
See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like they need to hype it. Like he's got the pedigree at this point, no pun intended. But he's got the resume that people should be taking him more seriously than just the guy who broke up the Shield and cashed
No,
in
I'd
Money
agree.
in the Bank.
I'd agree with that.
And the
He
fact that they
needs,
let him do the cash in at Mania and be the first to do that doesn't just put another feather in his cap. I think it's a huge statement forward about where the company has him sitting in the food chain.
I'd agree with that as well. I would say that they need to actually. It's going to be weird to say this about the guy who's holding the championship. He needs to build up a bit of credibility as champion by winning on his own. You know what I mean? Rather than having other people help him win. Because right now, I think the thing that you're basically bringing up is the fact that a lot of the times Seth Rollins has won, it has been because someone else has helped him win.
Absolutely. I mean, he shouldn't be a champion that grabs a chair to DQ himself to keep the belt. We don't need that, even if he's a heel. He can just be a jerk.
I'd agree with that.
And we can still keep the heat on him without him needing to DQ himself, because I'd rather see Seth Rollins do what he does best in the ring.
I'm going to tell you something kind of interesting that I think about this. What we have legitimately seen here is the first ever push of an indie guy by Triple H. And I'm not saying by Vince, though it could very well be by Vince, and we should probably say it is partially by Vince. But it is the first time that we haven't seen an indie guy get attempted to be buried by the WWE. Even with the penis scandal, somehow they didn't try to bury him. That's what I find interesting about this.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Like, he's not Daniel Bryan, who won it through people power. Johnny Ace moment. He's not CM Punk, who just slowly burned until he finally was bred in a flame. He somehow did this entirely with WWE's backing. And that's why I have to include Vince, because I think you're crazy if you think Vince is not involved with the fact that Seth Rollins is now champion. And, Vince might have wanted to push Roman Reigns, but Vince is a businessman. And he knows what gets people interested in wrestling still. And he knows that a cash-in to completion on WrestleMania means that everybody's going to be watching tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
no. The tune-in rate for tomorrow night is going to be insane.
The fact that, and you know what, cheap plug for the Today Show, I don't think we're going to have this episode up in time, but oh my god, the fact that right before the match started, they said, oh my god, Lesnar or Reigns is going to be on there, and the fact that you're going to have fucking Seth Rollins on that bitch tomorrow morning at 9:30, I gotta watch this.
If I didn't have somewhere to be, I would actually want to watch the Today Show, which I don't think is something I've said ever.
I don't think I've ever said that either. I mean, but let's be real, this is a big deal.
It is.
Like, this was the biggest toss-up they could have done, and I think it says a lot about WWE right now. And I don't know if it tells you a lot about Triple H with how we feel about him after this pay-per-view. And I don't know if it tells you really a lot about Vince with how the pay-per-view went. But it definitely tells us that WWE still has their eye on the game of how to keep us interested.
If not by
Absolutely.
throwing us a bone every once in a while.
I've said it, an unpopular opinion, but I think last year's WrestleMania was entirely a bone to the fans, and that's why they got Daniel Bryan. And because they got that fucking bone, that's why Taker lost. There's an ebb and a flow to everything. You don't just take. It's not about us, man. We can't get what we want all the time. I don't care if this product is something we like. Sometimes the bad guy has to win. And in some cases, it's just a fuck you to the fans to keep us in place.
Even if
Pretty
you're
much.
mad at them, you're still talking about it. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about the fact that Lesnar won over and over and over again. We talked about how the streak died and how that was a really sad moment for us. WWE won no matter what last year. No matter what.
And the reality of it
Having
is that this year we're just going to talk and talk and talk about Seth Rollins cashing in.
I think we got a lot of things to look forward to this year. A lot of things. Do you guys think? Who do you guys think is going to come up out of nowhere tomorrow night? Who do you think is going to appear on Raw?
If I had to take a guess, like, do you mean anybody, or do you mean like guys that we should be looking for?
I mean, either or. We'll take both.
Sheamus.
We'll take one of each.
Sheamus is the obvious one.
Yeah.
And then, if you would have asked me like 2 weeks ago, I would have said Sami Zayn, but apparently he is on the shelf now. So, I really don't. I mean, I wish if I didn't care so much about NXT and enjoying the show, I probably would read the dirt sheets that come out since it's pre-recorded so far ahead. But if I had to take a guess now, if you needed one NXT guy to come up, it's probably Finn.
I'm of the exact opposite mindset. I have two guys that I think would be coming up out of NXT right now. One would be Hideo.
I don't think he's ready.
Hideo.
His English isn't good enough yet, which is a weird thing to say.
Hidematsu, whatever his name
Hideo
is.
Itami.
Hideo Itami? I can say Hideo Itami. My thing is, I mean, you had him make it to the Battle Royale for some reason, so why him if no other reason than you want to push him? But the guy who's obviously ready to me would be Adrian Neville, Pac.
I'm honestly worried about his future at this point, and I'm not sure how to feel in general because apparently he and Finn tore down the house last night at the NXT show.
Mm-hmm.
It's all confusing. Sheamus is the obvious one that we're going to see tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you there. Maybe Bo Dallas finally makes his return to Raw tomorrow
I mean, he
night?
technically made his return today. His face was in the dead center of the camera.
I know, but it was the most lackluster return I think I've ever witnessed.
Oh, no, you're right about that.
Kind of weird how that worked out.
Kind of funny.
Rough.
Sheamus has to show up. About what you said about Finn Balor, I think he's too valuable to NXT, and they would have a hard time trying to place him. We've already got one weird guy because we've got a Bray Wyatt. I'm kind of curious about what's going to be new storylines. Like, we need somewhere for Cody Rhodes to go because he's too damn good. It's that kind of thing. I'd like to see Sammy make the move over, and I would like to think I would like to think that Alex Riley being in the Royale is a step toward him coming back to Raw, but more than likely it's just a ploy to get people paying more attention to NXT.
Which I'm not really against, because if what they really end up doing with it is NXT becomes its own brand again, like NXT basically becomes not a separate entity from the WWE, but a different thing, to where, okay, maybe they just have a show on every Wednesday and it's 2 hours long now, but they tour with it. And even if it's pre-recorded like a month early, I'm still not going to give a fuck and I'm still going to watch. But it becomes a wrestling show rather than a sports entertainment show.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be mad about that. And if they decided through that guys like who are considered small, quote unquote, because they're not 6'4", 280 pounds, like Finn and Adrian Neville, and even Sammy to a certain point, because he's not small, but he's not a
A
hulking,
Roman Reigns.
yeah, or Kevin Owens, who is
Right.
built up as an unstoppable heel, but yet somehow he's a fat guy, which probably won't go over well on the main roster. I wouldn't be mad if NXT became its own, if it truly became its own thing and was no longer the, hey, we can just take these guys whenever we feel like it kind of thing.
New year, new me. That starts tomorrow. This has been Kayfabe Gimmicks. We're actually going to end this show tonight. You're probably going to be hearing this maybe before Raw, maybe after Raw. We're going to have another episode later this week. Comment us, join our Facebook group, Kayfabe Gimmicks, same name as the podcast. You know, there's a lot of things that's going to be happening, and we're going to talk about some of it. We're also going to cover some old stuff. I know we love just talking about wrestling, and I know we're going to have some great ideas. I'm pretty sure we have a whole episode dedicated just to CM Punk's pipe bomb. We have a lot more stuff we're going to talk about with divas. We have very interesting things to talk about, maybe. Or we're going to make fart jokes.
Both.
You guys will. I have more class than you fuckers.
See, finally, he fucking curses. He acts like he has class over us, but I mean, you know, with age comes wisdom, they say, but I think it just comes with the bald head. This has been Kayfabe Gimmicks. I'm Snuva.
I'm roughly.
Alex fell asleep on us.
Nah, I'm here.
You guys have a great night.
Peace out.